Shrapnel.
Well, hello everybody and welcome to Film Shrapnel. This is your number one spot for the movies. I am here, my name is Arnold, and I'm joined today by Tobias and by Craig. Hello, boys. Hello, Arnold.
Hi. How
How
did I
you
know
boys?
this was going to happen?
How you boys doing? How you doing? It's great to finally be invited onto the show. I'm just such a big fan of Film Shrapnel and everything that you guys are doing. It's just so great. Oh, nice one, Arnold. Thank you. It's really nice to get feedback like that from such a, highly regarded individual as you are. Well, it's just my pleasure. I just like to do things for the little guy sometimes.
Oh,
But
great, great work.
show me your leadership capabilities. Have you seen Bill Hader talking about working as a crew guy on Collateral Damage?
No, tell me.
Yeah, he's talking about it, and he's like, Arnold comes up to him, and he's like, where are these people? And he's like, oh, I'll go find them for you. And he's like, do it. Show me your leadership capabilities. But you know what? Bill Hader certainly has made something of himself since. And who knows? Maybe Arnold Schwarzenegger put in a good word for him.
Maybe,
Maybe.
yeah, maybe.
Hey, you could just ask me. I'm sat right here. I did do it for him.
There you go. Let's settle that debate.
Instead of that debate, I saw potential.
Yeah. Now he's. Have you seen Barry?
I've heard very good things about Barry, but I haven't watched it yet. No.
It's a very good show. I really recommend it. There's one motorbike chase that I really like, and I keep rewatching on YouTube because I really like it. So there's some good stuff there. I really recommend it.
All right, I'll give it a go. I'm really keen to give it a shot. Anyway, today we've got something a bit special for you guys. This is the return of the rewriters room, which we've retired for a little bit, haven't we, Craig? We haven't done this for a while.
Yeah, I think we haven't done this probably for, I don't know, 4 or 5 months now, something like that.
Yeah. Yeah. So this is the show where me and Craig, we like to come together. We like to rewrite something or reboot something or whatever the fuck. But we're basically writing something from scratch today. And our guest on the pod today, he has a special request. Yes, thank you, Tobias. This is a great segue. Great segue into my monologue. Yes. So I would like to ask you boys, because I'm getting older. I'm 76 years old. I'm getting older. So there's not a lot of time left to save the Terminator franchise. Not while I'm around. So I need you boys. So I'm making it more like Christopher Walken now, aren't I?
Careful, careful. Keep going. You're doing great.
But I was gonna ask you boys if you could make a new Terminator film for me on Film Shrapnel. Well, of course, Arnold. Why not? Well, that's what we're here for. We can help you. So today, guys, because Mr. Schwarzenegger has joined us in the studio, we will be rewriting, or we're going to come up with a new Terminator idea, because they've tried a few times. The last two Terminator films, they have tried to launch it into like a new franchise, and it's just not worked. I quite like Terminator Genesis, though. People hate it. I liked it, and I liked the questions that they were setting up for future films, but they never got to finish telling their story. And then this new one, Dark Fate, not great. Didn't love it. Just generally, just lower standard of the other Terminator films. So, how do we make a new Terminator film for the next generation? That's the question we're asking today.
Well, yeah, it's really tricky because there's so many ways you can take this. And I'm wondering, how do you see it? Do you see it as remaking it or trying to find a way to continue the story and take it to the next level?
So my idea for this, so I suppose this isn't modernizing it at all. If anything, I'm stripping it back. Um, there's always been the plot hole from the original film that Kyle Reese is John Connor's father. So that must imply that there must have been an earlier timeline in which no one was sent back in time, and the 80s were just the 80s that we know it to be. And then Judgment Day happened, and for whatever, here's my idea is basically the timeline before the original film's timeline.
Uh-huh. Go
So
on.
So in the original film, we learn that Kyle Reese is sent back in time to save Sarah Connor, who is being targeted because her son John Connor will become the leader of the resistance. Kyle Reese has sex with her, and we find out that he's actually the father of John Connor. However, there must have been a timeline where John Connor didn't exist and had to be made. So there must have been a timeline where Carl Reese was sent back in time to protect Sarah Connor for some other reason that had nothing to do with John Connor. Because the first time it happens, John Connor can't exist. So, what if, here's my idea, what if in the original timeline, the event where AI takes over the world actually would have happened a lot sooner, like maybe sort of the end of the 80s? So that's why they send a Terminator back, and Sarah Connor would have gone on to become the leader of the resistance. And that's why they send a Terminator back in time to kill her. And then John Connor gets sent back in time. They delay the um
You mean Reese
the
gets sent back?
Reese gets sent back. They delay Judgment Day, and in doing so, they have sex, they make John Connor, but because they've delayed Judgment Day, it's now John Connor who will act as the leader of the resistance rather than Sarah, who will be too old by that point. And then that would end us in the timeline of the original Terminator.
Okay. You know what I like about your idea? I haven't really seen the other Terminator films. I've seen one, two, and three, and I've seen the one with Christian Bale. But
Mm-hmm.
from what I've gathered about the other ones, I don't think they really explore the time travel aspect much, do they? I
Oh
mean,
no, no,
that's
no! Terminator Genesis is, it's very very time travel centered,
okay.
and that's why I liked it, because they were trying to do something different with it. But like, people really didn't dig it. People really didn't like it. I thought it was okay. I liked it a lot.
Yeah, because I'm just thinking like I think a lot of people when they think of the Terminator, they do sit down to like robots with flesh, right?
Hmm.
Uh, and they're forgetting the whole time travel aspect, which is really big, I think. And I
Yeah,
think it's really
absolutely,
important to have that.
absolutely. And like, I also think my idea, it addresses a big plot hole that people have talked about ever since the first movie came out. So it's just addressing that plot hole in an original story, which wouldn't affect the mythos of the rest of the movies. I think that's what the problem has been with the more recent films, is that they really try and adapt what we know already, and they try and change it around. And I think that's what people are getting upset at, is that they're retconning stuff that they don't want retconned. So I think with this story, if you do it this way, they can exist connected without remote. If anything, you're writing the story to directly tie in to it all,
Hmm.
rather than telling something new, rather than trying to rewrite stuff. You're trying to come up with something that can slot in at the beginning, and you end up fixing a plot hole that's been there for 40 years.
Yeah, It's like with Rogue One in Star Wars.
Yeah, yeah, pretty much. We find out how they get the plans to the Death Star. Yeah,
Yeah.
I I think it's basically the same thing. Like we basically tell an original story, and again, I personally don't want to recast anyone. Like what while I know we probably should recast people, but if I'm perfectly honest, in my head, I am seeing Michael Bain and Linda Hamilton playing Sarah Connor and Carl Reese. I can't. For me, I want this to be sort of something you would watch with the Terminator franchise. You want to watch this. Yeah, I don't see this as a reimagining. I see this as
Uh-huh.
an accompaniment.
How do you see them starring in it then? Because it's like, what is it,
The
40
age
years, 44 years?
the age of man. If Marlon Wayans can play a baby, then oh, he's not a baby in it, is he? No, he's yeah, that doesn't work. He's not a real baby. He's
No.
he's pretending to be a baby. Sorry, my bad. But still, I think we can de-age them. We're going to de-age them. We're just going to get the best possible deep fakes out there.
Uh,
Deep faking works. I mean, YouTube. Some of the ones on YouTube are really good. So, like, if YouTube can do it, Hollywood can fucking catch up.
yeah, but have you noticed that most of these videos are not very long? And I wonder how long it took them to do them.
Because they haven't got Hollywood money. But Hollywood
Yeah,
have Hollywood money. So if you had Hollywood money with these techniques, suddenly you have really good uh, de aging technology. But
that makes sense.
it wouldn't really be de aging technology. You're just taking a bunch of pictures of an actor from their youth to
You
make
know,
them younger.
but sometimes I've seen this and I find it really weird to look at. Like I'm thinking like Robert De Niro in The Irishman. They de-aged him.
Oh
But actually, no, what
yeah,
really got me, they changed his eye color. They made him have blue eyes, and it was really weird to look at. And there was also in
but
The
the
Righteous
problem
Gemstones.
But the problem with the Irishmen is that they were still in their 70s, but they're playing like much younger. So even though the de aging technology is good, they still look like 70-year-old men. You know, it's, yeah, they didn't look young in the Irishman.
Yeah, there was also like in the Righteous Gemstones. That's the one of those shows I was watching. It's Danny McBride's show, and John Goodman's in it, and they de-age him quite a lot. I will say though, with the first couple of times they did it, it was very obvious what they were doing, and it didn't
Mm.
really work. And they did get a little bit better with it as the show progressed. I think it's like 2 or 3 seasons now. I don't know. But still, like I just can't help being drawn to it because I know it's not real. You know, that
Mm.
sometimes that kind of annoys, like when you know that that guy is not really that age, it kind of takes it away from the film a bit sometimes. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I get you.
But I will say though, I do admire your idea about trying to keep the cast. So I guess that would also mean that Arnold Schwarzenegger will be there too, right?
Oh, yeah. You can't. E- even the movie producers that are ruining the franchise right now, even they know there is no franchise without Schwarzenegger. Of course they know. Of course they know. I'm the only thing that's worth watching.
Yeah, that is true. That is true. I think as soon as they got rid of Schwarzenegger, the quality it did decline, didn't it?
Well, he's not in Terminator Salvation except right at the end, and it's computer generated. It's not de
Well,
aging. It's just a computer generated young Schwarzenegger.
it wasn't that around the same time that he was governor of California. So I
Yes,
think that he wasn't really acting then.
because Terminator 3 was the last film he did, I think, before becoming a politician. And Terminator Salvation, they had to get computer generated Arnie. But I have to say, I think Terminator Salvation is a step up from Terminator 3. It is better, I think, in a lot of ways.
Mm.
No, I do agree with this. I think it's a lot better in a lot of ways, but I also think Terminator 3 is underrated. Like, people hate it, and I'm like, yeah, I see why you hate it, but there's actually some good stuff in there as well that, you know, it feeds the lore of the universe a bit more as well. And, you know, I can see why people didn't like the John Connor character. There's another character they introduce, his wife, that people didn't like, and I can see why people don't like it. There's a couple of bad jokes as well in it, and it's like, since when was Terminator a comedy? Um, but outside of all of these complaints, there's still a decent film in there somewhere. It's just, you needed James Cameron to direct it. He would have gotten rid of all the crappy jokes and just made a proper Terminator movie.
Yeah, I
But
think
it's
that's
got,
probably true.
but it has got elements that I think are okay. It's just not. It's just not very good. I like the
Yeah,
I like the idea of a Terminator film ending on Judgment Day. Like, the movie ends with the end of the world and the machines rising. I like the idea of that, and Terminator 3 does that.
and
But it,
it was always going to happen anyway because we
yeah,
kind of it was suggested from the first and second movie that there was you just knew that they were going to make something eventually about the end of the world happening, the actual moment where John Connor
exactly.
becomes who he's supposed to be.
hmm Now, well, speaking of this, so going back to our fictional version, I was even thinking we could have this thing where perhaps the first time they travel back in time, they just keep changing the future. So maybe we this prequel to the Terminator could be a lot of time traveling where we see the same sequence play out over and over again over a long period of time. Constant
Yeah,
changing of the timeline throughout the entire movie.
I it just does feel a bit like something else though. This reminds me of the Simpsons episode, the Halloween uh Treehouse of Horror one where Homer goes back in time with the toaster and keeps changing the past and trying to fix it.
Yeah, well, so that's the thing. Yeah, I suppose that's the sort of thing I'm thinking. Like, maybe we, because again, my original pitch for this at the beginning of the recording doesn't equate for, like, technically there should be a further time, like a more prime timeline than the one playing out in my in. Oh God, this is really hard to talk about with so many fucking timelines, Craig. Right. So my pitch would be like Carl Reese getting sent back in time for the first time,
Yes.
right? And so John Connor doesn't exist, and perhaps Judgment Day happens like in 1989, which is only like 3 years. Sorry, it's only like 5 years from the events of the first movie. So, and Sarah Connor would have become the leader of the resistance. But then you could do a more prime timeline where no one comes back and it's just Sarah Connor living a normal life and dating in the
Mm.
80s. Maybe we should make that film instead. We just called it Sassy Sarah, and it's just Sarah Connor, the romantic misadventures of Sarah Connor in the 80s, uninterrupted by sci-fi bollocks.
Yeah. The life she should have had.
Yeah. The many children she had that weren't named John.
Yeah. And that didn't have to lead any kind of bullshit revolution.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No robots at all. Just a
Yeah.
really really nice chick flick.
And like nothing, no dramatic things happen, nothing. It's just normal. Just a normal life.
She
Just
just
totally
goes on.
normal life.
She's going on dates. She's getting promotions at work. She's living her best life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
100%.
It's just Devil Wears Prada, but in the 80s.
Yeah.
She gets a
But
job at a magazine.
yeah, has everything that she could possibly want, and
She
it's just good.
she falls in love with like the janitor.
Is he homeless?
No, no,
Because there's a
he's the janitor at a fashion magazine.
uh-huh, uh-huh.
So even they're like really handsome.
Of course they would be. Why wouldn't they be?
Even the janitors are like a perfect 10. So
But
she falls in love with the janitors, but her girlfriends in the office are like, he's only a janitor though, honey.
and
You need to
that's
find
the
a better man.
yeah, and that's the max amount of drama she deals with in the film. Is like, oh, he's a janitor, and that's it.
Oh,
Like, there's no other problems.
maybe she could work with someone whose last name is Reese, so we know that her son will be
Uh,
Carl Reese. Oh, I quite like that. The company she works for is Reese Industries. Ah, but they invent Skynet. Skynet's just a fashion magazine like web page.
or, or as a side plot, the company's considering investing in AI technology, and some guy says, "Oh, but it could destroy the world," and they say, "Okay, we won't do it," and they just
Yeah, we
don't,
won't bother.
and
And
that's it.
then the movie just carries on.
Yeah,
Oh yeah, you know what? Let's make this one instead.
this
Sassy
is the
Sarah,
best.
the the romantic misadventures of Sarah Connor.
Yeah.
I kind of love this. I kind of love this. Mate, this could be. I think this you could make this and then release them both as like an aperitif of it for each other. If you want to see
Why
the
not make
violent
them
version.
intertwined? Why not make them intertwined? A bit like Everything Everywhere All at Once, you could have several realities happening at
Oh,
once. And there's one
so
reality where it's just completely happy, and we cut to it every so often,
yeah,
and nothing happens, and
I,
they just
she,
decide not to be involved in AI, and nothing happens. That's it.
she should get married to Bill Paxton, who
What?
gets famously punched through the stomach in the first Terminator
Oh, does
film.
he? I didn't even know that he
Yeah,
was. Yeah, okay, fair enough.
yeah, he's the punk. He's the punk that tries to stab him, and then he punches him and steals his clothes.
Really?
Yeah,
Whoa.
that's Bill Paxton. He's like really friendly with James Cameron since the first Terminator film. That's why he's in all of James Cameron's movies. Like he was just a bit part character in the first Terminator, but he knew he needed to become friends with James Cameron, and he did. They became really close. He's in like all of his movies.
I didn't know that was him. That's weird seeing him like that.
Yeah, yeah. So Sarah Connor could have gotten together with Bill Paxton,
She turns his life around, settle
but
down, have
then
kids and a dog.
we got to end the movie at like Christmas Day 1989. So it's about to turn to 1990 and then the machines will rise.
But it doesn't happen.
Really? You think it should have you think we should just never have machines?
Well, I think there should be like, if we make your plot like your
Because then
big story,
look at
and there's
no
people are playing around with time, you could have
because if
several timelines.
no, because if this is the prime timeline where no time travel happens, then the machines have to rise at some point. Otherwise, we
Ye-
don't get the all the other movies. So the machines
Mm.
do have to take control by some point. Maybe not in an. No, I think it should happen by the end of this movie. Like
Uh-huh.
it just ends on a really like everyone lives happily ever after until the next day. Skynet, that all happened. That still happens.
Yeah.
Everyone blew up, and
But
Sarah
I've
Connor
got
had to become the leader of the resistance.
nice. I like
Actually,
this. But
you still need to put her. You still need to give her a good enough character arc in this story for her to
of course.
become a plausible leader. So this is prime line time. Hang on, this is timeline prime for the Terminator universe. So John Connor never existed, and Sarah Connor never got visited by Kyle Reese. So she has just lived her life through the 80s, getting promoted, getting into romantic misadventures. And then she meets Bill Paxton, who's a reformed punk
Crackhead.
and thug crackhead guy. They get married. They have children. None of them are called John. No John.
Shun.
And then at the end of the movie, they live happily ever after. But then the Judgment Day happens, and somewhere in the middle there, she becomes a badass.
Yeah, that would need to be developed. That's the biggest thing to make it convincing, the change. Because I think, like in the second film,
Oh no,
uh,
that's it. Judgment Day kills Bill Paxton and the two children she had.
yeah, go on.
And then
And
that's
I,
what gets her so like motivated, where it's like, fuck these machines. Like maybe everyone was just willing to just sort of sit back and just accept that the machines have won, and she was like, no, we gotta fucking fight. And that's only because she lost Bill Paxton and her children that
uh-huh.
weren't called John.
Okay,
And
that
then
could work.
and but it takes a lot longer for the human resistance to fight up against the machines rather than the other timelines we're already aware of. It would take them longer to defeat the machines. I don't know why. We'll come up with some other logic, but it takes them longer. So it's Carl Reese is able to age up in order to be sent back in time. But then Carl Reese would be like the kid of this company that she worked for. And now he's like
Hmm.
her Robin to his Batman. He's like her second in command. And then maybe she dies. Maybe Carl Reese becomes the leader of the resistance before sending himself back in time to save Sarah, that concurrently creates John. And then John becomes the leader of the resistance that concurrently sends Carl Reese back in time a third time for to happen for the first movie.
Yes, yes.
That's my story. That's my story. So
And
a lot
but
of
I have a
time travel.
question.
Go on then.
What about Schwarzenegger? How does he fit in?
He's the robot. That doesn't change.
But when do you see him being a part of the film? Because so far we've talked really about Reese
Oh,
and
oh, yeah. Do you remember? Right. So you remember when you said that the company that Sarah works for uh, toys with the idea of investing in AI?
yeah.
The representative of the AI company will be played by Schwarzenegger.
Speaking of, I like that,
And,
but
it,
I'm
and,
always
and
wondering,
he based the look of the machine on himself.
could it be based on his DNA or something like that? Like maybe they
Possible.
they
All right,
cloned
then.
some of his flesh so they
His
could use
muscles.
it.
They
Because I've
cloned his
always wondered,
muscles to make other
yeah,
muscle.
yeah. Because I've always wondered, do they ever explain why he looks the way he is? Why was
Yeah,
this
they
body taken?
so there's a deleted scene from Terminator 3 uh where it's Arnold Schwarzenegger, but they've dubbed him to be like really American, and he's like talking in they're making like a promotional video to like pitch to military like you need AI, and he's like, "Hi, my name is Sergeant Candy," and like he's like talking about the benefits of AI, and it's Schwarzenegger, but it doesn't sound like Schwarzenegger. And then when the video ends, it's like a boardroom discussing whether this video is good, and they're like, I mean, this guy sounds a little bit goofy. And then there's a guy in the boardroom and he just goes, "We can fix it," and that's it, and that's it. So like, they do explain it in this like deleted thing that's on the DVD. Like I don't even know
Oh,
if you can find it on YouTube. You should be able to. If you find, I'm sure his name is Sergeant Candy as well. I distinctly hear him saying, "I'm Sergeant Candy." I'm sure. So yeah, they do explain it, but it's like a special feature on the DVD rather than an actual part of the film.
can we, in your remake, in your not remake, your new film. Can we please explain this? Can we add this to it? Because
Yeah,
I think it's
I think
fantastic.
I think Schwarzenegger should play the owner of this AI company. Fuck it, let's call the AI company Skynet. Save ourselves some time. So he is like the owner of Skynet, who's trying to get investment into AI. So he bases the Terminator on himself. But it doesn't really make sense, does it? Because we know that the Arnold Schwarzenegger Terminator is the 101st model. He's the T101, isn't he? So
True, but they could
he's the
have.
101st Terminator design.
Yeah, but they might. Your it doesn't have to be the flesh that's the design. It
Yeah, to
could
be
be
fair, you're
the
right.
robotics. Because
Yeah,
like when you
you're
look at
right.
the yeah, when you look at when they're fighting in the future in some of the first two films, that most of the robots are without flesh, and like I think that if that was to happen, the guy would have to be a bit like that. Have you heard of this crazy millionaire who's trying to
I mean,
de-age himself?
yeah, I
And
have
it's like,
heard of him. Yeah.
yeah, it'd have to be a bit like that, a bit
Well,
self-obsessed with his body and like trying to use his money
yeah,
to do
but
something like this, you know?
law. I know this sounds like splitting hairs, but law wise of the Terminator, they do say in the original film that the models before the Schwarzenegger flesh ones, the flesh was made out of rubber and they could spot a fake very easily. But then,
Ah,
but then they came up with actually growing organic flesh for the machines. So actually, in the lore of the first Terminator films, Terminators with flesh are an invention of the machines well after the apocalypse has already started.
uh-huh. Okay.
So it's not
Well,
something the humans designed, but we could because like I say, we're going to timeline prime, so lots of things could have changed from timeline to timeline. I think we're free to do it as long as it doesn't change too much. I think we can still imply that Schwarzenegger, or maybe he's like yeah. I think he could still work at the AI company.
he could have donated his flesh or something, or I don't know, like his
Donated
cells.
his flesh.
Not his flesh. I mean, like donated his like
Oh no, I got it.
DNA.
What? What if? Oh wait, I've got it. I've got it, Craig. What
Go on.
if in Timeline Prime, when the apocalypse happens, Sarah Connor and Arnold Schwarzenegger, a real human being, are the leaders of the resistance, and a failed mission resulted in the death of Arnold Schwarzenegger, and the machines used his body to create the flesh Terminators to originally, like, maybe try and infiltrate the resistance to be like, I'm alive. And then they're all
Yeah,
happy to have him back, and he's a Trojan horse.
yeah, it works the first time, and then they
Yeah.
think, yeah, okay, I can get on board with that. Yeah, and I think
Yeah,
people
I
liked.
like that too. I like that too. So this is the thing now. We've got like half of the movie would be the 80s untouched by sci-fi, but then the other half of the movie is, oh, we're just going to do the future now. So we're not getting to
Or
see. So, oh, we'll just do a sequel. We'll do a sequel where we do send Carl Reese back in time, and then we see how the timeline of the original Terminator is created. So we've got to make.
I
Maybe we're making three movies here, Craig. Maybe this is a
could
trilogy.
be,
So the
could
first
be.
part of the trilogy is Sassy Sarah, the misadventures, the romantic misadventures of Sassy Sarah, is the first episode of this trilogy. The second film is after Judgment Day, and Sarah Connor and Arnold Schwarzenegger are in a relationship where they fight everyone because she's angry that Bill Paxton was killed in the first movie. So she's become like a fighter and a resistance fighter, and Arnie is also a resistance fighter. So that they start smashing.
Of
Um,
course.
that's and then failed mission, and it ends with them sending the latest designer Terminator that looks like Arnold Schwarzenegger to infiltrate the resistance, and the resistance, you know, just about survives. And maybe in Timeline Prime, um, yeah. Oh, this is how you end the second one as well. Because in the original, we find out that the humans had won the final battle, and then the machines, as a last ditch effort, sends a machine back in time. So what if in Timeline Prime the machines win, and the humans, in a last ditch effort, send Carl Reese back in time, and then that creates the next, the third film in our franchise, which would be how John Connor gets born.
Uh-huh.
So our
Okay.
third Terminator film would be how we get to the timeline that has John Connor, the one that we see in the original film.
Okay.
So we've
I
got
was
a
gonna say,
trilogy here now.
yeah, I was just thinking, like, could we have it somehow in a fucked up way that, like, I think there should be some characters who are just like trying to fix stuff by going through time and they're fucking stuff up everywhere. Like, it can be very complicated. Could we even make it somehow the end of the last movie or something that they accidentally create AI trying to destroy it or something? I don't know, something like that, that like maybe they almost create a universe where there's none, but then it just creates it again. I don't know. And like a realization that uh they can't
But
fix it.
I thought you said you didn't want to do one of those like episodes of The Simpsons.
I didn't say I
I,
didn't want to. I just said it sounds like that. I'd still be up for it. I like playing around with time
well,
and like
well, that
changing the realities,
all right, yeah,
possibilities.
but that would have to be the third one.
Yeah, the where stuff really gets fucked up. We can plug in a lot of the holes as well, like in the first and
Well,
second, like things
let's
that
not
we think
let's not
didn't make
forget
sense.
let's not forget the first one and the second one has no time travel in.
Mm.
In the second one, we can show the invention of time travel, perhaps.
Yeah, because that has never been explained. Is there anything about
No.
that?
Oh, I think
That
they explain it in like some of the later ones, but we're ignoring the later ones, aren't we? We're only worried about the tiny little bit of space we have in the law that no one's filled at the start, and we are really running with it because we've got three fucking ideas.
I'll say one thing, like I wasn't sure there was much room for improvisation left in in the Terminator movies, but we found a lot of space. We found a lot
There's
of
loads.
space.
There's loads of room. There's loads of room. There's no excuse why this franchise should die. I like the Terminator films. I did like Terminator Genesis, if I'm honest.
I don't know. I don't think I'll watch it, but I'll take your word for it that maybe isn't as terrible as people think it is.
Well, but if you're not going to watch it, then you're not really taking my word for it, are you? Because
No,
you
I should
you
watch
just
it if
watch
we say it's
you would
good.
exactly you would just watch it if you believed me. So, uh, but yeah, I the thing is, I think we've hit on something here that like as much as we've made some jokes along the way. I actually do think there's a lot of scope for like the space of this little plot hole. I think you can spin it into a proper story that could fit into the rest of the franchise that
Yeah.
people
Uh,
that people would like as well.
it's something that adds to the originals and not tries to squeeze what am I trying to say? Something that adds to the universe, but doesn't try to just live off of its legacy, if you know what I
Yeah,
mean. Like taking the story a bit further.
exactly, exactly. Like just sort of push it, see where you can go. I think some of the ideas we got would make really good additions to a movie.
Yeah.
I would watch this movie where it's set after Judgment Day and Sarah Connor and Arnie are fighting Terminators and they make Arnie into a Terminator to infiltrate them. I would definitely watch that movie.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea.
It's quite. To be fair, though, now that I think about it, it is rather similar to Terminator Salvation. Maybe that was the original uh, plot for Salvation, and then they were like, "Nah, he won't stop being a politician. We can't get him. Let's just make him some other dude."
I can't say I can't remember that film very well. I was
They
just
they
thinking though.
they do make a Terminator that thinks they're human for the purpose of infiltration.
Oh yeah, I do remember something like that. That was a bit
Yeah.
weird. But I was just thinking, what should this film be called?
Oh, Terminator Year One,
Back to the Future.
Back to the Future. Terminator Back to the Future. No, we're back to the we're back to the past now. Terminator Back to the Past.
Uh-huh.
No, Terminator Present. Terminator colon present.
Well,
No, I tell you what. No, I keep calling it the Prime timeline. So let's just call it Terminator Prime.
hmm. Oh, by the way, did you ever watch that TV series that they had for a little while?
Sarah Connor Chronicles. Sarah Connor
Yeah,
Chronicles. Yeah, it was all right.
it was all right, you think? I
Yeah,
wasn't sure if it was any good.
it was all right. You know the woman who's having sex with her brother in Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
She plays Sarah Connor. She's
Oh,
really
does
good.
she?
Yeah, she's really good in it.
Huh, I didn't know that she was. I haven't seen her in anything else. That's kind of
Yeah,
interesting.
honestly, I think Sarah. I haven't watched all of it, mind you, but the few bits I have seen, I thought it was actually a decent show. But I only saw bits of one season. I haven't. I think they did like 3 seasons,
Mm-hmm.
something like that. But I've only seen bits of one, so you know, I don't know if it gets worse or maybe gets better. But the little bit I saw, I thought was okay.
Hmm. Maybe I should give it a shot. I don't know. So, man, you got to take this film to Hollywood now. You
I
have
know.
a solid idea.
Hollywood, hear this pitch. The first rewriters room of Film Shrapnel 2024. Hear this pitch. I've just saved the Terminator franchise. Arnie, what do you think? Well, I think it's incredible. You and Craig, you put your heads together, you come up with some great ideas, and I think you could really save the franchise, save the movie, and you make everybody a lot of money, so everybody should listen to you. Thanks, Arnie. That really means a lot coming from you. Well, of course, you guys. I love you guys. Great fan of the show. So grateful to let me be on the show. It's great. Oh, Arnie, you're just filling my heart with love. So thank you so much for being on the show. It's been an absolute pleasure to have such an icon endorse the show. Well, I've been a fan of yours for a long time. Well, thanks, man. And Craig, I'm a fan of yours too.
Of course, of
You
course.
know, your quick wit. To put up with this guy. This guy, he's so loud. To put up with him. You must have the patience of a saint. So no, I think you're great. When you guys put your heads together, it becomes magical. So yeah, it's great, and I'm so grateful to be on the show. And yeah, go watch my new movie, Terminator Prime, coming to
Terminator Back to the
HBO.
Future.
Really, we're going with Back to the Future. Can't it be?
No,
It's Terminator Prime.
it would always be a joke, though.
Do we not?
It will
Do we
always
not
be.
like? Do we not like Terminator Prime?
I do like Prime, but we'll go with it. We'll write it as Terminator Prime with like a colon
No,
in between or whatever you
but,
want to do. But
but
in my head, it
really,
will always be.
it
It will always
it's Back
be in
to the
my head.
Future.
Yeah.
Well, hang on. So the first film should be called "The Romantic Misadventures of Sarah Connor." The second film should be called Terminator Prime. The third film can be Terminator Back to the Future.
Okay. A deal. We got a
So
deal.
we've got ourselves a Terminator trilogy, and we'll call it the Terminator Prime trilogy.
Yeah.
Like you know how like Nolan's Dark Knight, like he didn't make the Dark Knight until the second film, and everyone calls it the Dark Knight trilogy. That's what they'll do with ours. They'll call it the Terminator Prime trilogy, even though the first one is called the Romantic Misadventures of Sarah Connor.
Yes,
All right, I'm locked in on this. I'm really happy with this.
I'm very
I,
pleased as well.
if I'm perfectly honest, I think I couldn't have anticipated how much I actually enjoyed the idea we've come up with today. I I think it was a good idea not to take it too seriously. Like,
Oh
yeah,
yeah, you
I
have to
think
let the ideas flow naturally, like, and see what
that
happens.
I'm really surprised at how much I've enjoyed this story. It's kind of like when we did Superman. Like, we really did go into it with the intentions of writing a Superman movie, but instead we wrote a movie about Henry Cavill getting hit on the head a bit and thinking he's Superman. So, but again, it was like actually a decent idea for a movie. What if you did think that you were a superhero in real life? Like it is an interesting idea. So yeah, I think we come up with a couple of cool things, especially when we think we're doing one thing and actually we end up doing something else.
It's the creative process.
It is. I think we should definitely do more rewriters' rooms, Craig, in
We
2024.
we need to fix some broken franchises. We need to find maybe we can do Jurassic Park next time because I've got many strong opinions on that, on
Maybe
how
we
they
should do.
fucked it.
We'll call it Jurassic Land. The only like
Yeah,
it's literally the only other logical thing you could call a new Jurassic Park series, Jurassic Land.
they are actually making a new film, by the way,
Oh
another
no!
Dominion, and I'm not
Is it,
looking forward to it.
is it gonna be a Jurassic World movie or a Jurassic
Yeah,
Park?
Jurassic World.
No, we'll make
I thought they
Jurassic
were
Land.
done.
Okay, at some point then we will do an episode on Jurassic Land. Um, but I also think we could do Troll 3, finish the trilogy.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah, we could do Troll 3. Um, there's a few things. I actually thought, could we do a rewriters room one day where we make Tommy Wiseau's The Room Oscar worthy?
That would be a great idea.
Could we do that as well? I would love to do that.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right,
We can have a list of them.
we got a lot of ideas. Maybe we'll do a poll on Twitter for the fans, and we'll ask them which one do they want to see first.
Hmm. We can
Something
even
like
ask.
that.
We can stick it at the end of the podcast, even
All
as
right.
a poll.
So, guys, there'll be a poll attached to this podcast. Me and Craig will decide on a couple of projects we might want to rewrite or do, and you guys can vote on it. That'll be quite fun. We'll see what comes. We'll see what people want to see.
Yeah, this will be good.
All right. All right, guys. Well, I think that's pretty much it. Unless you've got anything else to add, Craig.
No, no. This is kind of a bit of a side episode from our Oscar stuff. So I
Yeah.
look forward for more Oscar stuff coming up pretty soon. Um, yeah, super enjoyed doing this with you, man.
Yeah, really fun. We've got to do more rewriters stuff. I love it. Really, really fun. And Arnold, thank you for coming to for us as well. Yeah, no, I had a great time. It was great, and thank the audience for coming and listening. We appreciate it, and it sounds like we have saved the Terminator franchise. Yeah, it sounds like we have, Arnold. Well, that's goodbye from me. That's goodbye from me.
And goodbye from me.
Shrapnel!